Hello, and welcome to the W.A.I.T channel. What Am I Thinking? A podcast where two sisters share uplifting conversations on fun and sometimes serious topics.
Join us each week by clicking the notification bell and subscribing to our channel. If you enjoy the show, use the share link. It's one of the best ways to expand the conversation.
So, Lori, I think one of the first things we need to do is share a little bit about why we wanted to start this podcast and why we felt our thoughts needed to be shared with the world.
Okay. Well, I don't know about you, but personally, in this environment, and especially over the past couple of years, I think everyone has had a voice in one way or the other, sharing how they feel. You and I, we've talked to each other about things, and one of the things that for me is nerve-wracking is when I'm saying something that is so common sense, and later it may take 3 weeks or whatever the time frame is to finally hear somebody echoing the exact same thing that I'm saying. It's validating to know that I'm not the only person out there thinking a certain way, but it's also frightening when I hear something that is so far to the left or so far to the right, and it really is not something that makes sense or something that is positive or productive or uplifting.
Or the opposite of that you say it may take them 3 weeks to echo what you have said. What about when you never hear what you have said and it really does seem like, hello, this is not rocket science.
Right.
Why aren't you all taking this stance, or why aren't you all handling it in this way? And that goes from every type of thing, whether it's politics, whether it's reality TV, or whether it's something that's not in the entertainment space that I feel like, why hasn't someone done this, or why hasn't someone told this story?
Or more to the point, for me personally, why does everything have to either be a story that slants 100% negative or a story that slants 100% positive, and just not meeting something in the middle? It's okay to give both sides when you are telling a story. You don't have to land just on one side, and that can be frustrating. You find yourself hollering at the television while you're listening to the commentator, wondering, okay, so what about the other side of the story? And you know that I have a craw about history, how they will talk about things as if it's not something that we've seen before, or a problem that we've had before, or our short-term memories in this country, how things will happen, and then 3 weeks later or a month later, we've moved on to something else. And I'm like, wait a minute, what about what we were talking about a week ago or a month ago? And I don't necessarily feel that the media, not just mainstream media, but just a lot of the platforms out there, that they're not giving an even and a balanced mix for having conversations that are productive.
Ditto to all of that. Because there was a time where I thought CNN had that space to be right there as that independent voice. But because of extremes on the other side, I think that moved them more from that middle position, unfortunately. And I know that journalists like to say that they are, that they don't take sides and they're apolitical, but the reality is there's a slant on both sides. And the thing that we say is anything at one extreme or the other is not good. Right. Extremes are not healthy for a society, period. Right. You want to be able to land somewhere in that happy medium. And a lot of times that's not what we hear when we are tuning in to news, entertainment, and so many other things.
And it's one of the reasons that we see a nation that is so fractured, because we aren't really getting that middle ground news anymore. And I say that for the right and the left, it's reactionary. It's like if they are being extremely maybe provocative in what they are saying, then the other outlet feels that they have to go to the far opposite side to counteract what someone has just said. So literally it just reminds me of that playground mentality, that bully mentality, or, well, you're coming for me or I'm coming for you. And for a long time, it got to the place where, me personally, I don't enjoy watching the news like I once did. I loved getting the information, but now it's turned into something that's tribal. And that's something that when I discussed about wanting to have a podcast, I wanted to have a space where we could share information, but it's not always slanted. And slanting is okay as long as you are not falling solely on that side and realizing, hey, there might be some other information that I can add to this. I'm not the keeper of all knowledge. I don't know all things, and I'll be the first person to admit that.
Right. And the thing that happens with extremes is that it's hard to want to even find the validity in any aspect of it because you have gone so far to the extreme. But that doesn't mean that it didn't start out with a valid point, and it gets lost in this narrative when everybody gets, as you say, tribal. And it saddens me that's the space that we're in. And I know for me that when it comes to taking a position or a stance, you could be 100% right in the position that you're taking, but because of the way you choose to discuss it, engage, you end up looking and being wrong.
It could be a turnoff.
It can be a total turnoff.
Yeah.
And I don't think individuals, I wonder if they see and hear themselves, and if they really can kind of put that mirror up and realize you have turned your position into, you're missing the mark, because you may keep your audience, which could be that maybe 25 to 30%, but you're not bringing anybody else into the tent.
And you said something that kind of sticks with me there. Too often people, they want to talk for the sake of talking. Mm-hmm. They want to be on the stage. They want the spotlight, but they're not really thinking about maybe the danger of the information that they're sharing. Mm-hmm. Maybe they are hearing themselves, but they're not really concerned about what the result or the consequences mm-hmm. of what they're doing or what they're saying. And sometimes, and this is frightening, they very much are aware of the consequences and what their words are doing and saying. So, when we thought about this podcast, there's a lot of negativity out there. And if you're looking for negativity, if you're looking for conspiracy theories, and I could go on and on, you'll find it. But that's not what we are about here.
Correct. When we talk about what am I thinking, we're talking about being able to put a positive spin on something that's out there, or something unique, different, but we're taking a stance on things from our perspective, but always in a healthy and helpful way. When you think of this platform, this YouTube channel, this podcast, think of us intentionally being helpful and not hurtful.
I think that the word compromise is something that has been removed from our political platforms, our not only on the federal level, but state as well as city. I know that for us, we're not going to pull away from those hot button topics, but we also know that there's a balance, and that no one side is always right. There's compromise, and that's something that's missing. And when we talk about those things, that's the way that we will talk about them. We'll look at both sides. I might not like another side, but it's important to listen, because that's a lot of what's not going on. We're not listening to each other. And we grow by listening. We grow by compromising. We grow by putting ingredients together to make something.
And that's our serious stance. But we also have some fun stances and some fun topics where we'll look at, let's say, some pop culture things, some entertainment things. And I know there are times where we both tune in and tune out of reality TV, and for different reasons.
Not only that, but why it's gotten kind of dicey to invest in a series, because you don't know, are they going to continue the series or are they going to cancel the series? What's this up with one season? And then the big cliffhanger, and you're waiting for it to come back on, only to find out it's been canceled.
But that's the beauty of a Netflix and a Peacock and a Paramount, because what the other stations are tuning out of, they're picking it up and being able to give it new life.
I'm grateful that they are doing that, and the networks are losing out on a lot of good programming by canceling it. But I think it's really smart that these what do they call them? They're not really cable networks, but like streaming platforms. The streaming platforms, they're picking them up. So like those are just some of the things that we will talk about. We're not heavily on the politics or any of those troubling topics that I think we're all tired of hearing today. But there are a lot of other things that we want to talk about. The holidays, the stress of the holidays,
a good book that might be out there, fiction and nonfiction.
Science fiction. I definitely love my science
fiction. For sure. So it'll be, we'll pepper in a little bit of everything. And as you begin to tune in, we definitely are open for, input from you, and we'll tell you, the ways in which you can do that as well. So just know that, there could be a stance on a conversation about a reality show. One of the ones that has wrapped up is the Real Housewives of Potomac. And they did something different with it, their reunion, and how they allowed Nicki Minaj to be the one to do the questioning for the last segment. And so...
And I'm not sure how I even feel about that. Well, how do you... we knew it was coming. We knew it was coming because they talked about it and they aired it. My expectations weren't very high, but I'm still not sure how I felt about that fourth installation to the reunion.
So, okay, so you get a little taste of what we're thinking right now. So we can use this as a jumping off topic. So for me, I have to say I had a low expectations, because I wasn't sure that it was a good idea to have someone come in who was a viewer and who could take sides and didn't have to necessarily be neutral. However, we all know that the actual host, Andy Cohen, does take sides too. So when she was like, I can take sides. And I'm like, well, he does too, kind of, sort of. So there were parts of it that I loved with her questioning, and there were parts of it that I could have been like, you didn't have to go there.
It was like digs.
Yes, a couple.
I expected that from her. I don't feel she took sides, though. I think she had something to dish to each one of the women.
Everybody had to be on the hot seat for a minute.
Right. I can say that. Maybe it was a little slanted, but not too much. I can say she went for everyone. And
Karen got off easy.
I guess.
Yeah, but Karen got off easy.
But Karen, that didn't really, not much happened with Karen, really. You would disagree. Okay.
Well, I would say she started out with the whole her and Giselle scene and the hot box and all that.
And
nastiness.
my take on a lot of that is we know we don't see everything.
Correct.
And we know that during those off times, sometimes spats happen and
Correct.
they spill over.
Correct.
And I feel with Giselle and Karen, there's more behind their antagonism or whatever is going on.
And we got to see that great moment where they hugged about the children, and that was great. So that let me know that there's so many layers and dynamics to the friendship. So it's like, okay.
It was nice for the camera, but I'm not buying it.
Well, we know that it doesn't take away the animus that's there, but they can get along. They can. They're capable of it. How long it would last.
Right.
So that was it. They can. And they kind of do this almost every year.
Yeah.
I think last year was the first time where they ended totally not in a good space.
So let me ask you this, because I know I have a feeling on this. Who do you think is at the root for continuing this sparring match that goes on back and forth between them?
Well, I have to say that the things that I see of them, so I don't follow either one of them, but when I see them on different things, I have to say from my side, I have seen Karen say more sparring things, and then I have seen Giselle since once the season began, and now that's what I've seen. Now I could have missed some of Giselle's jabs, but I've seen her say, and it's like, I thought you guys were, in my mind, I'm saying, I thought you guys were in a better place when the nastiness would come. And it wouldn't be horrible, as they say, not cutting to the white meat like they say Candace does. But, that's what I would say. What do you say?
Okay. I think Karen responds to Giselle. I think Giselle, she is the type of person who, in my mind, it's like she gets in digs. And she will step back and act like, well, I didn't say that, or I was playing, or you just took that the wrong way, or...
I've definitely seen her do that with other people. It was one of those things where if she hears that they have said something, then she feels like she can, like, you don't have license to say that, but yet she has license to say it. So I've seen that, but I would say the person that is truly true for and who gets the horrible rap is Candace, because she truly responds. They don't like how she responds, but I'm hoping that they keep her as part of the show simply because we don't see a lot of African Americans displaying generational wealth. And I think the point of view that she brings with that is worth it. And I think, to me, it was part of why they wanted to kind of take digs at her, because she came from some privilege. And not all of them came from that. They had to get it on their own, and there may have been a little hateration going on.
I listened to Ashley, and I know from the very beginning she kind of was the antagonist from the very beginning. And it's just interesting to me how they have this forgiving eye and this forgetfulness about all the things that she did. And she did some pretty invasive things, especially to Robin. Having comments about her relationship, about her care. And now, because she's a mom.
All is forgiven.
All is forgiven. Now, I'm not saying that Candace does not have some issues, because we know she does.
For sure.
But to give this get out of jail free card to Ashley and to not give it to Candace, I think that's not.
But they give it to all of themselves accept her.
Yeah.
Because I saw one of the other housewives from another show. Well, she's not an Atlanta housewife anymore. Portia on Watch What Happens Live, and she said they all cut to the white meat. She said when she looked at the exchange between Giselle and Karen, and I agree, it was just as nasty. But they want to say hers is so much worse. And I think it's more of a situational thing that makes it worse, because she goes for the white meat in a situation where it should have called just a slap on the wrist, as opposed to her.
She's physical. She gets, and by that I
mean. You mean animated?
Yes.
That's, yes.
She's
animated.
That's a much better word.
Yes. She's animated.
Hers is not just words.
Right.
It is definitely, her body is in motion. And when people see that body in motion, they get to interpret what they think that motion is.
True.
Which for her, I really think that she's like the little yapping dog, all this bark, but there is no bite. I don't think
she ever intends to bite.
No.
She just like another housewife said, that she fights with her words.
With her word.
And, not everybody knows how to handle that.
Right. It's aggressive.
And the thing is, but that doesn't make it her problem that you can't handle it.
Right.
You've got to choose to say, well, maybe I don't want to engage.
Would you say that is also the reason they came for Wendy? Because Wendy is another person who knows how to fight with her words.
With her words. And well, I think they came for her and realized they didn't want any. That's what I think they realized with Professor Wendy.
Yeah.
That they didn't want any. And I think that those who, and if you realize, who did she have the exchange with this year? It was Mia, who did not know Candace.
Right.
And so, as they say, they didn't know she didn't realize what she could do with her words.
Right.
So she probably should have left her.
She should have left her
alone. Because it was petty. Low budget thing. Leave her. This girl is trying to get her come up in the music industry. She's doing it independently. That takes a lot. And guess what?
For Mia, which we know she did not independently get the things that she got.
So it's like, come on, Right. So I understood why for Candace that was such a low blow. But in the same vein, I wish there were some things that she said that she could take back. If you were to ask her, she would probably say, no, I don't want to take none of it. She probably doesn't want to take any of it back. But I think it's one of those things where I would love for her to do some self-reflection, and I care less about the way she's engaging with the women, and I care more about how she's engaging with her spouse and her mom. Because I know she loves him, but you can't unsay things.
No.
And then you're saying it on national TV. So when she has and I'm like, this is what you're willing to put on TV. What does it look like when the camera's out there? I'm praying it's not any worse. So that's what I would like her to work on. And I don't know, maybe it might be a gift to her to not be on that platform. Maybe she can work on that, but I'm hoping, I would like to see her come back, and I would like to see her, because I know her and Chris, they had to fight for their love. I know they love each other.
Right.
But you got to learn how to communicate in a way that's not mean and nasty to each other, because that does emotional damage, whether either one of them wants to admit it. And it's hard to come back from that year after year after year if the person doesn't change. And so I have seen their exchanges not get better, and that concerns me. And especially now, mom might be a catalyst to help them work on it in a way that they never thought about, because she has caused them to be tighter because of her shenanigans, which I don't think we have time to get into her shenanigans. But I'm hopeful that she could watch this season back and see some of her communications with him and choose to not be so biting to him and not emasculate him in public in those ways, and or in private. I think it matters publicly or privately, but definitely in public.
And for me and for the listeners to the podcast, the upside of this conversation is when you're looking back on yourself, and hopefully as these women look back, hopefully they watch it.
Yes.
You can grow.
You can grow. And we saw that with Candace. The way she started out the season, I was thrilled.
Yeah.
She was amazing. And I'm like, so all that stuff she went through with Monique was not for naught. And then when the other things happened, even with that, I would say I still saw growth. Even though she threw the lettuce, that was probably to me one of the low moments.
Right.
Was the lettuce and the your mama. But we're not perfect. She's not gonna become this, in the midst of that dynamic, she's not gonna be perfect because
we have to remember she's filming a show.
Yes.
She's working on her master's. She's making music. She's
Yes.
doing a video.
Doing amazing
she's
things.
Balancing her marriage. She has children that she's co-parenting.
Bonus mom. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So when I put all of that
those together.
and
I'm
we look
rooting
at
for
all
her.
the other, I'm rooting
Yes,
for her too.
I'm rooting for
really
her.
rooting for
And
her
I've heard
also.
some people say terrible things about her, but I'm like, you guys are missing the gem that she is.
Right.
They're missing the gem
Right.
just because of some low moments. And I've
Right.
seen all of those women
Right.
have had bad moments.
Right.
And give her the same grace and forgiveness because she is the youngest.
Right.
Give her the same grace and forgiveness.
So on this topic, we're going to close out. We thank you for joining us. And if you want to hear more on W.A.I.T,
What am I thinking?
make sure you click your notification bell to be the first to learn about our newest installation on our YouTube channel. Thanks for listening.